Unaware his wife secretly bought his family mansion for $20 billion, his mother threw her out that night. The rain poured so hard it sounded like thousands of tiny drums on the roof of the old family mansion. At exactly 10:17 p.m., the front door flew open. "Get out," Margaret Harrison shouted, pointing toward the driveway. "You've fooled my son long enough." Standing on the porch with tears in her eyes was Emily Carter Harrison, clutching nothing but a small overnight bag. She didn't argue. She didn't yell. She simply looked at the woman she had called Mom for 6 years and quietly said, "I hope one day you'll understand." The heavy wooden door slammed shut. Emily stood alone in the cold rain. What no one inside that mansion knew was that only 12 hours earlier, Emily had secretly signed the largest private real estate purchase in American history. She had just bought the Harrison family mansion for $20 billion, not to take revenge, not to show off, but to save the family that had never truly accepted her. 6 years earlier, Emily had fallen in love with Daniel Harrison, a kind-hearted architect from Boston. Daniel wasn't wealthy. His family once had money, but years of bad investments and hidden debt had pushed them close to bankruptcy. Still, Daniel never complained. He worked long hours. He loved his family, and he loved Emily with all his heart. What Daniel didn't know was that Emily came from one of the wealthiest families in the world. After losing her parents in a plane crash at 18, she inherited a global investment company worth billions. Instead of living like a celebrity, she chose a quiet life. She wore simple clothes, drove an ordinary SUV, volunteered at homeless shelters. She believed people should love her for who she was, not for her bank account. Daniel did exactly that. His mother never did. Margaret believed Emily wasn't good enough. She thought Emily had trapped her son. Every family dinner ended with criticism. "You'll never fit into this family. You don't belong here. My son deserves better." Daniel always defended his wife. But Emily stopped him. "She's your mother," she would whisper. "I'll keep trying." Years passed. Nothing changed. Then everything changed. The Harrison family business collapsed. Banks demanded payment. Lawyers filled their mailbox. The mansion that had belonged to Daniel's family for over 100 years was about to be auctioned. Margaret cried every night. She believed generations of memories would disappear forever. Emily quietly made one phone call. "I want the mansion purchased immediately." Her financial advisor almost dropped his phone. "For $20 billion. Yes. And after you buy it." Emily smiled. "Transfer ownership into a family trust. The Harrisons will never lose their home again. But they don't even know. They don't need to." The paperwork was completed before sunset. The mansion now legally belonged to Emily's company. Yet no one inside the house knew. That evening, Margaret overheard part of a conversation. Emily was speaking softly on the phone. "Everything is finished. They'll never have to worry about losing the house." Margaret misunderstood. She assumed Emily had arranged to sell the mansion. Fueled by anger and fear, she stormed into the living room. "I knew it." Daniel looked confused. "Mom, what happened?" "Your wife has been planning to steal this house." Emily tried to explain. "It's not what you think. I've heard enough." Margaret pointed toward the door. "You've destroyed this family." Daniel hesitated. He wanted to believe his wife. But his mother was crying. Emily looked at him. "I'll leave. If you love me, you'll learn the truth." She quietly walked into the storm. No shouting, no revenge, only heartbreak. The next morning, luxury vehicles filled the driveway. Margaret frowned. Who are all these people? Men and women in expensive business suits stepped out. Behind them came one of America's most respected financial attorneys. "Good morning," he said politely. "We're here to meet Mrs. Emily Harrison." "She doesn't live here anymore," Margaret replied. "You threw her out." The attorney looked stunned. Then he opened a leather folder. "I'm afraid there's been a terrible misunderstanding." He handed Margaret several documents. The old woman slowly read the first page. Then the second. Then the third. Her hands began shaking. What is this?" "The mansion was purchased yesterday," Margaret whispered. "For $20 billion. Yes. And immediately transferred into an irrevocable family trust. You now own the right to live here for the rest of your life. No bank, no creditor, no future lawsuit can ever take this property." Margaret's knees nearly gave way. Who paid for this? The attorney smiled gently. Your daughter-in-law. Silence filled the room. Daniel stared at the papers. His eyes filled with tears. But, she's richer than we ever imagined. The attorney nodded. Mrs. Harrison requested complete privacy. She specifically instructed us never to reveal her wealth unless absolutely necessary. Margaret couldn't breathe. The woman I accused, the woman I threw into the rain, was saving us. Daniel grabbed his car keys. We have to find her. Hours later, they found Emily exactly where she always went when life became difficult. Volunteering at a neighborhood homeless shelter. She was serving hot meals, smiling, listening to people's stories, acting as if nothing had happened. Daniel walked toward her slowly. I'm so sorry. Emily looked up. You know. He nodded. I know everything. Margaret stepped forward. For the first time in years. She wasn't proud. She wasn't angry. She simply cried. I judged you because I couldn't see your heart. I only saw what I wanted to believe. I was wrong. Emily immediately hugged her. There was no hesitation, no bitterness, no desire for revenge, because forgiveness had always lived in her heart. Margaret sobbed. After everything I did, how can you forgive me? Emily smiled softly. My parents taught me something. When people hurt others, it's often because they're carrying fear they don't know how to let go. I don't want another family broken. Daniel wiped away tears. At that moment, several volunteers quietly watched. None of them knew billions of dollars stood before them. They only saw 3 people choosing love over pride. Months later, the Harrison mansion became more than just a home. Emily transformed part of the estate into a community center. Every weekend, families received free meals, students earned scholarships, senior citizens found companionship, veterans received support. Margaret personally welcomed every visitor. Whenever someone thanked her, she smiled and said, "Don't thank me. Thank the woman I almost lost because I forgot that kindness is worth more than appearances." Years later, little children played in the mansion's gardens. Couples celebrated weddings there. Charity events raised millions for families in need. The home that was once nearly lost became a place where thousands found hope. One evening, as the sun set behind the old mansion, Daniel held Emily's hand. You could have bought anything in the world. Emily looked at the families laughing across the lawn. I already did. Daniel smiled. What do you mean? She leaned against his shoulder. I bought a chance for people to stay together. And that's worth more than any mansion. Sometimes the greatest fortunes are not measured by money. They are measured by mercy. By second chances. By choosing forgiveness when revenge would be easier. Because true wealth isn't owning a house. It's building a home where every heart feels welcome. And on the night she was thrown out into the rain, Emily didn't lose her family. She gave them a future they would never forget. The end.